You know when you think of World War II, you think of brute force, right? Tanks, planes, raw firepower. But what if I told you one of the most effective American units fought with, well, with imagination? Yeah, you heard that right. We're diving into the incredible story of the 23rd Headquarters Special Troops, an army that was, and I mean this literally, a work of art.
So let's just put ourselves in their shoes for a second. How on earth do you outsmart an entire army? I mean, an enemy that's dug in, they're determined, and they are watching your every single move. You can't just go head-to-head. That's a losing game. You gotta outthink them. You have to play a completely different game.
And the answer they came up with? It was just brilliant. Totally unconventional. The idea was simple. You don't show them your real army. No. You make them see a phantom force, an army that simply doesn't exist.
So, what are the weapons for this phantom army? Get this, not steel, but rubber. We're talking hundreds of inflatable tanks, trucks, even artillery pieces. They could pump these things up in minutes, and from the air, it looked exactly like a massive, terrifying armored division ready to attack.
But of course, an army isn't just something you see, right? It's something you hear. So what do? You add a soundtrack. They had these giant, powerful speakers blasting pre-recorded audio of rumbling tanks, of troop movements, of construction, creating this whole symphony of deception that you could hear from miles around.
And this phantom force, it was like a traveling road show of illusion. It had a name. They called it the Ghost Army. And their job, really, was to be the greatest actors on the entire European stage of war.
All right, so think about this. Who do you even recruit for a mission this weird? You're not looking for your typical hardened soldiers. No way. You're looking for creators, for Imagineers. The Ghost Army wasn't just a military unit. It was basically a collective of artists.
The unit was made up of just about 1,100 men. And these guys were hand-picked, not from boot camps, but from places like art schools, ad agencies, and sound engineering studios. Their battlefield wasn't a muddy trench. It was a canvas. And their whole mission was to weaponize their creativity.
And the talent pool in this unit, it's just staggering when you look at it. We're talking about people who would later become absolute legends in their fields. You've got fashion designer Bill Blass, the incredible abstract artist Ellsworth Kelly, famous photographer Art Kane. And that's not all. They were joined by set designers, architects, sound engineers, all of them masters of perception. And now their job was to create the ultimate illusion of war.
Okay, so their success really depended on this multi-layered approach. You can almost call it a four-part symphony of deception, and every single part was designed to be completely, utterly convincing to German intelligence.
So let's break down exactly how they pulled this off, because it's genius. First up, you have the visual deception. This is where the artist really got to shine, right? They used everything they knew about shadow and perspective to place those rubber tanks and dummy vehicles just perfectly to full spy planes. Okay, so you've got the look. Next, oral deception. Those sound engineers would just blast these recordings of an army on the move. Then, there was radio deception. This part is so clever. They had operators who would mimic the radio chatter of real divisions. They'd even copy the unique Morse code fist, like the signature style of individual operators. And finally, you had physical deception. This is where soldiers, who are just fantastic actors, would go into nearby towns, pose as officers, and just spread rumors. It was a complete 360-degree performance.
And this quote right here, it really gets to the heart of what they were all about. Their mission was to masquerade. Think about that. They weren't there to fight. They were there to fool. Their success wasn't measured by how many enemies they took out, but by how many Allied lives they saved, just by drawing enemy fire and attention completely away from where the real fighting was about to happen.
So all of these incredible skills, they all came together for what you could call their masterpiece performance. It was during the final massive push across the Rhine River, an absolutely crucial step for the invasion of Germany.
And this is where you see just how powerful their deception truly was. Look at this contrast. On one side, you have what German intelligence thought they saw, 2 full American divisions, that's like 30,000 men, with thousands of tanks, all ready for a massive assault. But what was the reality? It was just over 1,000 guys from the Ghost Army, with a bunch of rubber decoys and some speakers on trucks. And the craziest part? The Germans bought it. Hook, line, and sinker. They started moving their own forces to fight an army that was literally just hot air.
And the result? It was immediate and it was huge. The Germans literally redeployed major forces, including an entire panzer division, to go fight this phantom threat. This left the actual Allied crossing point, which was miles away to the south, with way less opposition. It's estimated that this one deception, this one piece of fader, saved thousands of Allied lives. It was a strategic masterstroke, and they did it all without firing a single real shot.
So after the war, you'd think these guys would be celebrated as heroes, right? Well, no. Their incredible story just vanished. The entire operation was stamped top secret, and the men were sworn to absolute secrecy for decades. I mean, just look at this timeline. Their story stayed a secret for more than 50 years. The official records weren't declassified until 1996. It actually took a documentary in 2013 to really bring their story into the public eye. And it wasn't until 2022, just recently, that these unsung heroes finally got the Congressional Gold Medal. Talk about long overdue recognition.
But you know, the legacy of the Ghost Army is so much more than just a cool war story. What they were doing back then, it was a pioneering example of what we now call information warfare. This whole idea of using and managing information to mess with your opponent's perception to gain a competitive edge, that's a cornerstone of modern military strategy today. Their battlefield wasn't land or sea, it was perception itself.
And that brings us to a really interesting and kind of scary final thought. The Ghost Army, they use their illusions to save lives and help win a war. But today, in our digital world, which is just filled with deepfakes and disinformation, the art of creating a false reality is more powerful and way more accessible than ever before. It really makes you stop and think, doesn't it? The modern battlefield is perception. So the question is, who's creating the illusions now?